am Dr. Twylia, best-selling author, international speaker, and trauma-informed empowerment coach. Thank you so very much for joining me today for another survival strength and strategy session with Dr. Twylia. Today, we are diving into the truth that while trauma may impact your life, it does not get to define your future. In these next few minutes, I want to help you recognize the strength that you did not know that you had, the wisdom you gained through breaking, and the strategies that can help you rise, rebuild, and reclaim your voice. Now, you're not here by accident, okay? The moment that you entered into this field here, to this Zoom session, it's part of your comeback. So let's get started. When it comes to church events, it's usually somebody else's life that's been turned inside out, right? Somebody we hear about on the news, or someone that we read about in the newspaper. We see graphic images on TV. We normally can identify with their shock, and we can identify with their hurt and their heartbreak and their profound confusion about how to move forward, right? Their lives as they knew them have been lost forever. And they find themselves on new and unfamiliar paths starting over. They find themselves in unfamiliar territory, learning about things that caused the traumatic event to occur. But what if, just what if the role was reversed? What if you were the person who were watching on the people were watching on the news or reading about in the newspaper? What if one day you were just living your best life? I mean, your life was filled with amazing family and friends. You had your dream career. I mean, you had lots of social activities going on, lots of love and lots of laughter. I mean, you were really just living your best life. And all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, you wake up in a hospital room. Not only do you not remember who you are, but you don't know any of the people that are surrounding you. You realize that you are now incapable of doing many of the things that you took for granted on a day-to-day basis that would always be there. You know, things like brushing your hair and brushing your teeth, or putting on your clothes and tying your shoes, or sometimes even just having a meaningful conversation on the telephone. There are moments in life that divide everything into the before and the after. Before the tragedy and after the tragedy. In one moment, everything familiar can shatter. Everything stable can collapse, and suddenly you're just left living your life, okay? You're just not just living your life. Actually, you're fighting for your life. You're fighting to learn how to rebuild it, how to succumb the tragedy that you just went through. June 18th, 2001 was a day that changed my life forever. I became a caregiver overnight. I became a survivor without preparation. I became a woman just trying to rediscover herself in the aftermath of devastation. But here's what I learned on the other side of it. My greatest tragedy birthed the birthplace of my greatest strategy. I mean, my entire purpose and calling was birthed out of tragedy. For a long time, I really did believe that tragedy was the end of my story. I believed that it was the final chapter, you know, the closing line. But as I walked through caregiving and as I walked through healing and rebuilding, I discovered something really powerful, that tragedy does not end your story. It simply redirects it. It forces you to confront who you are. It strips away what no longer serves you, and it reveals strength that you did not know that you had. Tragedy is not just an event, it's a turning point. It's a crossroad, it's a catalyst. And when we learn to walk through it instead of being crushed by it, then something extraordinary is really going to happen. Your pain is going to become a strategy, and your wounds become wisdom, and your survival, well, it becomes empowerment. And so today I'm going to share with you the 3-step approach to turn your tragedy into working strategies. My work is built on simple truth, ladies and gentlemen. People don't just need encouragement. They need strategy. So I developed a 3-step framework that helps individuals turn their tragic events into empowering moments. And the last one is the most powerful. So make sure you stay with me here. Let's walk through them. Step number 1, identify. You have to recognize what the tragedy created. You see, tragedy creates what we call significant emotional events. We call them C's, S-E-E. Dr. Morris Massey, a famous psychologist, stated that significant emotional events are the circumstances that shake us to our souls, disallowing us to ever be the same again. Significant emotional events can make you feel like your world is literally coming to an end, like there's no future, like there's no hope, like there's no anything. Tragedy leaves patterns. It shapes how we think, it shapes how we trust, it shapes how we love, and believe it or not, it even shapes how we protect ourselves. But most people never stop long enough to identify the impact. We say things like, oh, this is just who I am, or this is just how life works. This is just how it's supposed to be. But no, that's not true. That is not who you are. It's not how life is just supposed to be. That tragedy trained you to believe this way. That's what the tragedy did. So when you identify the patterns, the fear, the shrinking, the overgiving, the emotional survivor, you're going to reclaim the first piece of your power. You see, awareness is the beginning of empowerment. Step number 2, interrupt. You got to break the cycles that keep you stuck. Tragedy creates cycles of silence, cycles of self-neglect, cycles of overfunctioning, cycles of emotional exhaustion, and so much more. Interrupting those cycles means choosing differently, even when it feels uncomfortable. It means saying no when you're so conditioned to saying yes. It means resting when you've been taught to just push through. Why? Because that's just what discipline looks like. It means asking for help when you've always been the helper. It means pouring into yourself when you've always been the one pouring into others. It means deciding to activate your faith and forward all issues to Him instead of walking in fear, which is false evidence appearing real. Interrupting is not easy, but it's necessary because nothing changes until you do. Step number 3, implement. You have to turn your insight into working strategies. All the things that you learn, all of the strategies that you learn, all of the wisdom that you acquire and the knowledge that you gain, you have to learn how to implement those things. See, insight is powerful, but insight without action, my friend, is just information. Implementation is where the transformation becomes visible. It's the small, consistent step. It's the boundary that you decide to set forth. It's the new habit that you take on. It's a moment of honesty. It could be your decision to just show up differently. It can be your decision to just be intentional about everything that you do and say. You see, it's not about perfection. It's all about direction. Every step that you take is a declaration of your story. It means that your story is still unfolding. Now, this is the remarkable part. And you may say, well, Dr. Twylia, why is this the remarkable part? Well, I am glad that you asked. You see, your tragedy is not your identity. It's your initiation. That's right. It's not your identity. When you treat tragedy as an initiation, you are fundamentally changing how you build your forward-looking strategy. An initiation always begins with what? Separation. Okay. It pulls you away from what is familiar. from your familiar way of life, those familiar way of doing things. It pulls you out of your comfort zone. The tragedy, the initiation has altered your landscape. So trying to execute those strategies based on your old reality, it's going to always fail because the reality no longer exists. That reality is no longer there. So your mindset has to shift. Now, you're not going to hide the scar. You don't have to do that. But don't let it define your worth. You have to draw a hard line right here between what happened to you and what you are becoming after what happened to you. When you break tragedy down into patterns that you can see and strategies that you can actually use, you're going to stop being defined by what happened to you, and you are going to start being defined by what you choose to do next. You must change your perception of who you are. And once you start to realize who you really are, and most importantly, whose you are, you will actually start to look at yourself differently. You're going to be able to stand in the mirror and tell yourself, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am the head and not the tail. I am above only and not beneath. I am the righteousness of God. You will be able to say those things. You will realize that you are stronger than you ever thought that you could be. Things that you used to be afraid of doing, you're not going to be afraid of those things any longer. Those things that used to give you butterflies and make you feel anxious, you're going to feel more confident about your ability to do things. You're going to feel more confident about the ability to make decisions, not just for yourself, but for the loved ones that you take care of and help them not only not only survive, but thrive. And that's what you want to do. You want the confidence to be able to do those things. But most importantly, you're going to start to love yourself. You're going to start to appreciate yourself, the survivor. This framework opens new pathways for resiliency. It opens new pathways for clarity and restoration. It gives you permission to rise again, not as who you were, but who you are becoming. Imagine if we just would take a moment and just stop asking, why did this happen to me? And really just start asking, what is this teaching me? What is this preparing me for? What am I becoming because of this? So imagine if every person that have gone through a traumatic event who has ever been broken by any type of traumatic event realize that they're not finished, but they are transforming. Imagine if we understood that tragedy is not a dead end, it's actually a doorway. My life was shattered, but I rebuilt it piece by piece, step by step, and strategy by strategy. And I am here before you today, not as someone who has avoided tragedy, because Lord knows I've had my share of tragedy, but as someone who transformed through it. Your pain, my friend, is not your prison, and your tragedy is not your title. Your story is not over. You're rising and you are evolving and you are becoming stronger. You are becoming wiser and more intentional than ever before. And when you learn to identify, interrupt, and implement, then your tragedy becomes your turning point. Your hardship is going to become your momentum, and your life is truly going to become a testimony of what is possible when you refuse to stop at the breaking point. So today, if you're ready to identify your patterns and interrupt your cycles and implement real change, I invite you to schedule a strategy session with me. Your transformation deserves structure. It deserves support and someone who truly understands the journey. You see, your transformation deserves someone who not just talks the talk, but who have really walked the walk. Or you may be here and you're ready to just turn your lived experience into a message that heals, one that empowers and inspires others. So let's talk. If that's the case, if that's who you are, remember your story carries power, and I love to support you. I invite you to apply for my author coaching program, and let's bring your message to the world. You can reach me via email at info@twyliareid.com, or you can call me at 912-335-3799. Again, thank you so very much for sharing this space with me on today. My prayer is that you leave this session, number one, reminded of your strength. Number two, anchored in your purpose. And number three, confident that what tried to break you can become a part of what builds you. Your story is still unfolding, and you are worthy of every healing, empowering, and transformative moment ahead, my friend. So keep rising because your next chapter needs you. So until next time, I'm Dr. Twylia, and I help you transform tragedy into triumph, one moment at a time. Thank you so very much. God bless you all.